of the port as he sees it. So over to you, Jerry. Take it away. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Philip. And first of all, very good morning, or good afternoon now, just to everybody, and many thanks for allowing me to give a short presentation on the port business. So, if we can go to the presentation, thank you. We've got some gremlins there.
A couple of issues
okay.
with the presentation.
My apologies. We seem to have some gremlins in the works here. Just bear with us a second.
It's there and it's open.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. A little bit of technicality at our end. I think before I start, I'd just like to first of all just pay tribute to everybody concerned with the river. As you can probably see when I came on the screen, I'm in my office here at Queen Square. I've been working from here or down at the port since the pandemic first hit us. The people who actually are employed by PD Ports and operate our port have remained working throughout, as has the various providers of services on the river, the tugs, the pilots, the foy boatmen, etc. And of course, equally and most fundamentally, I'd pay tribute to the various industries around the river, who in turn have continued to work throughout. This has been a tremendous team effort to keep a vital part of the UK's infrastructure flowing and operating during what have been incredibly testing times for the UK. And on behalf of everybody at PD Ports, I want to thank you, our colleagues, our stakeholders, our friends on the river for all of your hard work in keeping this river operating and its industries flowing and operating very successfully. So thank you very much. So this morning I'm going to talk about some of the things that we're doing at the moment. I talk about it in the context of perhaps some of the missions that we feel that we've got for PD Ports beyond our role simply as a business. All about providing a gateway into the north of the UK as we seek to even up the gap between the north and the south of the UK in terms of economic prosperity, providing a future for our young people in the Tees Valley, and creating those opportunities against which employment can flourish. I'm going to talk a little bit about free ports, and I'm also going to talk about some of the work that we're doing at the moment in terms of playing our bit to drive environmental sensibility, our intent is to make PD ports carbon neutral by the end of this decade. So, first of all, let me just talk about the river for a couple of minutes. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but for those of you who aren't, PD Ports is the statutory harbour authority for the River Tees. In a nutshell, under Act of Parliament, which was made in 1966, we were appointed as the statutory harbour authority. Our obligations are to maintain the navigability of the river, to ensure that the river is dredged, to ensure that the environmental obligations in terms of quality of water, etc., are maintained on the river, and to ensure that we provide various services which enable ships to go up and down the river itself, including our harbour office, which acts very much as an airport control tower, governing and managing the movements of the ships, the provision of pilotage, the provision of tugs, the provision of services to berth and moor vessels, and the provision, for example, of emergency pollution response. So a pretty broad range of responsibilities which we separate from PD Ports activities as a business, as a port operator in its own right. The total amalgamation of both our port operations and our role as the conservator on the River Tees, under the role of the Statutory Harbour Authority, generates about 1.4 billion of GVA annually, which is about 10% of the total GVA generated in the Tees Valley. And that sees us as about the fifth largest port in the UK by volume. And interestingly, we're the only port in the UK actually with a trade surplus. So in a nutshell, the River Tees exports more than it imports. Currently, as I say, handling about 28 million tonnes on the river each year, supporting about 100 weekly calls of vessels, and in turn, and we've had these stats independently validated by Mace Consultancy. Some of you will be familiar with Mace as an organisation. They're a global consultancy business, so these are their numbers, not mine. We support about 22,000 jobs locally. I'd like to think that as the Statutory Harbour Authority, and I think of us more as the guardians of the River Tees in terms of the role that we undertake. I think we're a pretty transparent and approachable business. Again, we've had some independent validation of that. We've recently had scrutiny undertaken on us by the MCA, the Marine Coast Guard Agency. They independently vet and validate ports, obviously as a statutory body on behalf of the DFT, and they found that the manner in which we operate our business, the level of reporting that we give up to stakeholders through various bodies, the PMSC meetings that we have that evaluate our role in adherence to codes of conduct and statutory processes, as well as the more commercial relationships that we have through the Tees and Hartlepool Port Users Association, put us in a position where we're adopting pretty much best practice in the ports industry. I'm always mindful that we could do better. It's not a self-congratulatory statement, but I feel it is worth putting out to the meeting this morning. Running a port is an expensive operation without a shadow of a doubt. We've invested around about, it's just over 5 million actually. It's about 5.5 million in the last quarter alone in procuring a new pilot vessel. You can see that splendid vessel in the background, together with one of our surveyors in the foreground, Mia, who became the godmother to that vessel. That joins our fleet of 3 pilot launches, which take the pilots out to meet the vessels in the Tees estuary. And we just spent another 2.5 million in the last 3 months on one of our dredgers, getting it refurbished. So running a river is an expensive operation as a harbour authority. And then we operate as a port as well up here. Tees Dock, which you can see in the splendid aerial shot there, and the Port of Hartlepool. Just looking at Tees Dock there, just very, very quickly, in the top of your photograph, you can see 2 very large white buildings. One is Tesco's distribution centre. It's for the whole of the UK and handles all of their non-food goods. And then the building to the right of that is Asda's distribution centre. You can see in the middle part of the foreground are container terminals and clearly ships alongside and various containers in storage. In the foreground on the left-hand side is the berth for ICL, from which their products coming out of the Bulby mine are stored and then rehandled through Tees Dock. And then the port infrastructure to the right-hand side of the screen shows the MGT biomass power plant, which is the 300 megawatt biomass plant, which is now nearing imminent completion. In just to the left of the biomass plant is a very large warehouse. That's the former steel export terminal. We've been repurposing that in the wake of the closure of SSI and the reduction in steel making on the River Tees, and then various warehouses and buildings around the port. Okay, so a little bit about what we've been doing in the port itself, the dock. Over the last 10 years, that dock has seen around about £1 billion of private investment in it, including the MGT power plant, the investments by Tesco, by Asda, by other local players, and indeed by ourselves. We as a business have spent about £130 million in redeveloping and repurposing parts of the port. And again, independently evaluated, that investment has yielded about 2,500 jobs in the port itself. In 2020, to date, I'm very proud to be able to report this to you. We've created the thick end of 100 jobs, 95 to be absolutely precise, in the port, as we've taken on new people into our business, as we have seen increase in activity and increase in volumes. Part of it is driven by some of the capex that we put into the business. Going back to that earlier slide, the repurposing of the steel export terminal, which is that large building in the centre of the screen, just to the top of the SSI steelworks. We spent the thick end of £10 million in that building, repurposing it to handle gypsum rock and agribulks being shipped in through the port on long-term contracts. We're just about to spend a further £4 million redeveloping our roll-on, roll-off facilities in the port, and that's yielding a steady increase in volumes across both the bulk cargoes that we handle and the containerised and unitised cargoes that we handle. And actually, for us, within the port itself, it's interesting to be able to tell you that November is going to be one of our busiest months in the port since we set up records. So the impact of coronavirus has certainly impacted heavily over the last few months, but we are beginning to see something of a bounce back. And it's great to be able to take new people into our business. The business is populated very much by people, I'm afraid, like me, in the majority, so middle-aged, white males. Our business is changing. We're driving that change very, very determinedly. We see that diversification in the range of people within our business as entirely productive and appropriate and applicable. Chloe there will be somewhat embarrassed that we put a photo of her up, but Chloe's a graduate trainee, joined our management program. She's now leading shifts of stevedores discharging bulk products right the way across our Teesport operation, and she's one of many women now coming through in our business and rising to the top of the business, and we're going to determinedly encourage that process as we go forward. So, a little bit about what I see the immediate future is going to have for us. I'll deal with free ports last, and just talk a little bit about three things that I want to see us accomplish within the port in the very near term. We're going to continue our recruitment drive within the port. That'll see us by the end of Q1 having employed a total of 133 new colleagues in the business, including 40 apprenticeships, mainly in our engineering functions, but also within the general port operations themselves, which is obviously absolutely great. I think for all of us, and I can't see you, but I'm sure a number of you are nodding your heads. As you bring new people into your business, you bring new mindset, you bring new ways of doing things, you bring new ideas into the business, and you bring new zest and new energy into the business. And we're determinedly on that path. We're completing a master planning exercise. A number of you will have been consulted in respect of that master planning exercise. It's been led by Mace. It is a recommendation of DFT that ports go through this exercise and actually sit back and strategically think about where the estuaries and the land banks and the industries and the stakeholders that they serve are going in the future, and then ensure that the port is appropriately geared to achieve the objectives of its estuary community. That's what the master planning exercise is fundamentally about. We've got through the first stage of that master planning exercise. I think, Kirsten, tomorrow we've got a meeting with the DFT to update them on where we are with that, and we'll be prosecuting that forward in the first quarter of 2021. Not very far away now. And then thirdly, I just want to mention the port community system to you. We partnered up with the Port of Rotterdam. Rotterdam is the biggest seaport in Europe. To work with them in terms of a port community system that they have developed. We'll be doing quite a lot of refinement to that, and we'll be rolling that out to the river community. I would look at that as an intranet for the river community. It will very, very openly and transparently share information with regard to the arrivals and departures of vessels, the intercommunication with other ports of loading intercommunication across cargo flows. It's not a customs clearance solution that's governed by an entirely different platform, but we would integrate that into this port community system. We think that's going to really drive efficiency and openness of communication across the port. So finally, I just want to say a little bit about free ports. The free port opportunity has been around for quite some time now. It's an opportunity that has emerged as a result of our decision to leave the European Union. It's a position that has somewhat got politicised and should not, in all honesty. It is a result of that, and it is upon us now. There is a very real government determination to drive the free ports opportunity. Various colleagues amongst stakeholders around the river have contributed to a consultation document that went into the DFT and Treasury a couple of months ago. The government have come forward and said that it is their intention to now prosecute the free port opportunity for the UK. They are notionally talking about 10 ports being created in the UK as free ports. Our reading of the position is it's highly likely that 3 of those ports will go to the devolved regions, and that will leave 7 for the UK. It's also highly likely that there may be 1 or more non-sea ports created as free ports. But our understanding is that the Tees Valley is very much viewed as a significant, if not the most significant, free port opportunity for the UK. We, for our part, will be working with our stakeholders. For example, I've already reached out to Philip at NEPIC and had a couple of pretty substantive discussions with him about this opportunity. We'll be working with local government, and we'll be working with the general river community. What we're quite determined to do is to approach the free port opportunity with a very clear and open mind. So, what is the free port opportunity all about? It is about the creation of principally land banks for industrial purposes, attracting globally agile investment, which may be looking at Europe and may be looking at the United Kingdom, and may therefore see some benefit in the location of manufacturing into a free port area. The benefit coming from the deferment of the payment of VAT and duty on goods, raw materials, that is, entering the free port, being manufactured and then shipped out. there is a deferment in its entirety, so no VAT and duty is paid, aligned to some relaxation in terms of the speed of process in planning and consenting, and some benefits in terms of capital allowances. There are a number of other benefits, but that gives you a flair for what the free ports may deliver and generate. What it is not is an excuse for the transposition of existing indigenous business into a free port area, because that is not going to create new jobs and new opportunities. And that essentially is what a free port is designed to do. It's designed to be a mechanism to drive prosperity and opportunity in regions in the UK which are challenged. And out of interest, about 85% of UK ports sit in challenged areas from a socio-economic perspective in the UK. There's been a great deal of talk about where the free port could be located within the Tees Valley. We, working in partnership with Mace and our other partners, are going to take now a very, very objective review of how this is likely to best work, laying out the various land banks, the location of the port assets in accord with the land banks, and figure out what is the most compelling bid for the Tees Valley in respect of delivering big bangs for our buck in terms of the free port opportunity. And we will certainly be talking to key stakeholders and key partners on this particular matter as we go forward. The bidding process is due to start within a matter of a couple of months, if not weeks. And we're looking forward to driving and delivering with partners that opportunity for the Tees Valley. And on that very positive note, I'll pause and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. More than happy to take any questions or to circle back with any questions that you might have going forward. Thanks for your time.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jerry. Yeah, very interesting about the port and the Strategy Port Authority. Great insight into the developments and interesting comments about this yet another opportunity for Teesside, that of a free port that obviously we need all to work together on to, as you say, get our best bang for our buck. So
absolutely.
Yeah. We're running a little bit behind, so if you'd like to ask Jerry some questions, if you could do that outside of the stage area, via the lobby or via the VIP area, that would be great, because I'd like to try and get back on time. But thanks again to Jerry. That was great. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Nice to see you, Phil. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.